The directive was simple: speak only when necessary, and only in sanctioned phrases. The rest was silence. Not metaphorical silence, not the kind that fills a room with tension or longing, but engineered silence, measured, enforced, and rewarded. In District 93, every citizen wore a throat band, a thin strip of matte graphite that monitored vocal activity. It pulsed faintly when you spoke within limits. It tightened when you didn't. No one remembered when the directive was first issued. The archive listed it as Protocol Zero, which meant it predated the rest of the system. Some said it was a response to the noise riots. Others believed it was older than memory itself, a kind of foundational law buried beneath layers of revision. Whatever its origin, it had become the architecture of daily life. Children were taught to communicate through gesture and glance. Adults spoke in clipped phrases, request acknowledged, directive received, gratitude expressed. Anything else was considered indulgent, inefficient, or dangerous. Elian knew the rules. He followed them precisely. At 34, he had never received a vocal infraction. His throat band was pristine, its graphite unmarred by the red pulse of disobedience. He worked in the Department of Quiet Technologies, where he calibrated the acoustic dampeners embedded in public infrastructure. His job was to ensure that the city remained sonically sterile. No echoes, no resonance, no accidental music. But on the morning of the anomaly, something shifted. It began with a hum. Not loud, not defiant, just a thread of sound, barely audible, escaping his lips as he calibrated a dampener in Corridor 7. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't even conscious. The melody was simple, circular, like something half-remembered from a dream. For notes, rising, falling. He didn't notice it until the throat band pulsed red. He froze. The corridor was empty. Surveillance nodes blinked in the corners, but no one emerged. He placed his hand over the band, as if to muffle the memory of sound. The hum had stopped, but the echo lingered, not in the air, but in him. A kind of internal reverberation, like a forgotten name brushing against the edge of thought. He waited for the reprimand. It didn't come. No alert. No summons. Just silence. That night, he dreamed in sound. Not words. Those were still forbidden, but textures, tones, fragments of melody. A child's voice, laughing. Wind through glass. A woman humming the same four notes he had uttered. He woke with the taste of it in his mouth, as if the dream had left behind a residue. The next day, he returned to Corridor 7. The dampener was functioning perfectly. No anomalies. No acoustic bleed. But as he stood there, the hum returned, not from his throat, but from the walls. Faint. Familiar. He leaned in. The graphite shimmered. He placed his ear against the surface, violating 3 protocols. The melody was there, embedded in the material, looping softly. For notes. Rising, falling. He stepped back. The corridor was still empty. He checked the archive. No record of unauthorized sound. No mention of the melody. But in the metadata of the dampener's calibration file, he found a string of characters. It was not a sanctioned phrase. He deleted it. The next day, it reappeared. He deleted it again. It returned, this time accompanied by a second string. He stopped deleting. Instead, he traced the origin of the metadata. It led to a deprecated node in subsector 19, a part of the city long sealed off after the resonance collapse. He requested access. Request denied. He tried again. Directive conflict. He bypassed the system. The throat band pulsed red. He didn't stop. Subsector 19 was colder than he expected. The dampeners were offline. The air felt thick, textured. He walked through the corridor, listening. No hum. No melody. Just the sound of his own breath, amplified by absence. Then he saw it. A door, half open, marked with a symbol he didn't recognize. Inside, the walls were covered in graphite sheets, each etched with waveforms. In the center, a console blinked. He approached. The screen lit up. A voice spoke, not synthetic, not sanctioned, but human. Elian. He stepped back. The voice continued. You remembered. The throat band tightened. He couldn't speak. The voice didn't need him to. We built the directive to protect you. But silence is not safety. It is forgetting. The console displayed the waveform of the melody. For notes. Rising, falling. You hummed. That means it's still in you. He reached out. The graphite shimmered. The hum returned, louder now, filling the room. The throat band pulsed red, then black. It released. He spoke. Not a phrase. Not a protocol. Just a word. Why? The voice answered. Because silence was never meant to last. Elian didn't return to the department the next day. His absence would be flagged, but not immediately. The system allowed for a 24-hour anomaly buffer before issuing a trace. He used it. The graphite sheets from subsector 19 haunted him. Not just the waveforms etched into their surface, but the way they shimmered when touched, as if sound had a memory, and memory had texture. He had taken one, folded it carefully, slipped it into his coat. It pulsed faintly against his chest now, warm and rhythmic, like a second heartbeat. The voice from the console had said silence was forgetting. But forgetting what? Elian had no memory of music, no recollection of melody, rhythm, or harmony. The directive had been in place his entire life. And yet the hum had come from somewhere. Not learned, not taught, remembered. He activated his home terminal. The archive flickered to life. He searched for melody. No results. Music. No results. Sound memory. One result. Restricted. He bypassed the filter. The screen displayed a single image. A child holding a graphite sheet, humming. The waveform matched his own. The metadata listed the child's name, Elian. Age, 5. He stared. The image was dated 29 years ago. The directive had already been active. The throat band was visible on the child's neck. But it was loose. Inactive. He zoomed in. The child's eyes were closed. The hum was visible in the waveform. For notes. Rising, falling. He tried to access the full record. Access denied. He traced the file's origin. Subsector 19. He returned. This time, the door was sealed. No shimmer. No voice. Just silence. He placed his hand on the graphite. It pulsed. The sheet in his coat responded. A low vibration. He pressed both together. The door opened. Inside, the console was dark. The waveforms had changed. New etchings. More complex. He approached. The screen lit up. No voice. Just text. You are not the only one. A second console blinked to life. A name appeared. Lyra. Age, 34. Vocal infraction. Humming. Location, District 77. He stared. The waveform matched his own. For notes. Rising, falling. He searched the archive. No record of Lyra. No record of District 77. He bypassed the filters. A map appeared. District 77 was listed as dormant. Population, 0. He traced the anomaly. The data was active. Someone was there. Someone was humming. He initiated a trace. The system resisted. He forced it. The throat band pulsed red. He ignored it. The trace completed. Lyra was real. Alive. Active. Her vocal infraction had triggered a memory cascade. The system was suppressing it. He needed to find her. He requested transit clearance. Request denied. He rerouted through subsector 19. The graphite shimmered. The door opened. A corridor extended beyond the known map. He entered. The air was different. Not sterile. Not dampened. Alive. He walked. The hum returned. Not from him. From the walls. From the air. From memory. He reached a terminal. It blinked. Lyra is waiting. He continued. The corridor narrowed. The graphite pulsed. He emerged into a chamber. Lyra stood at the center. Her throat band was black. Inactive. She was humming. The same 4 notes. Rising, falling. She turned. Her eyes were familiar. Not from memory. From the image. The child. The waveform. She spoke. Not a phrase. Not a protocol. You remembered. He nodded. So did you. She smiled. They tried to erase it. But sound leaves a trace. He stepped closer. What is it? She touched the graphite wall. It shimmered. A song. The first one. Before the directive. He listened. The melody expanded. More notes. More texture. It was beautiful. Familiar. Terrifying. Why did they silence it? She looked at him. Because it made us feel too much. The chamber pulsed. The waveforms shifted. The graphite responded. The hum became music. Not loud. Not defiant. Just alive. The throat band melted. Silence ended. The music didn't stop. It looped softly through the chamber, threading itself into the graphite, into the air, into Elian's breath. He stood beside Lyra, listening not just with his ears, but with something older, something beneath language, beneath protocol. The melody was expanding. It had begun with 4 notes. but now it unfolded in spirals, echoing fragments of something half-remembered and half-invented. Lyra touched the wall again. A new waveform shimmered into view. "This one came yesterday," she said. "From someone else." Elian stared. The pattern was different, more erratic, less symmetrical. "Who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she gestured toward a console embedded in the far wall. It blinked with a soft amber light. He approached. The screen displayed a name, Kale. Age, 9, vocal infraction, singing. Location, District 12. The waveform was jagged, raw, but unmistakably musical. "He's a child," Elian said. "They'll silence him." Lyra nodded. "Unless we reach him first." The graphite pulsed. The chamber responded. A corridor opened behind the console, narrow and dark. "This leads to the old transit system," she said. Before the directive, cities were connected by resonance tunnels. They carried sound, memory, emotion. Elian hesitated. Why did they bury it? She looked at him. Because it worked too well. They entered the tunnel. The walls were lined with dormant dampeners, their surfaces cracked and faded. As they walked, the hum followed them, shifting in tone, adapting to their steps. It was no longer just a melody, it was a map, a guide, a memory system. Lyra explained as they moved. Before Protocol Zero, the archive was sonic. Every emotion had a frequency. Every decision left a trace. People could hear their own histories. Elian frowned. And that was dangerous? It was overwhelming. Too much empathy. Too much regret. The system couldn't contain it. They reached a junction. 3 paths diverged. The hum split, fracturing into 3 distinct melodies. Lyra closed her eyes. "This one," she said, pointing left. "It carries Kale's signature." They followed the sound. The tunnel narrowed, then opened into a chamber unlike the last. This one was filled with suspended graphite sheets, each vibrating softly. Elian stepped closer. The sheets responded, playing fragments of voices, laughter, sorrow. "These are echoes," Lyra said. "Stored memories. Unarchived." He touched one. A woman's voice whispered, "I remember the rain," before they silenced it. Another sheet pulsed with a child's giggle. Another with a scream. "Why are they still here?" he asked. "Because the directive couldn't erase everything. Some memories resist." At the center of the chamber, a console blinked. Kale's name appeared again. This time, the waveform was clearer, more structured. He was learning to sing. Elian stared. "He's doing it on purpose." Lyra nodded. "He's remembering." The console displayed a location, District 12, Subsector 4. "We can reach him," she said. "But we'll need to activate the old system." Elian hesitated. "Won't that trigger the archive?" "It already has." She pointed to a second console. It displayed a warning. Protocol Zero breach detected. The graphite pulsed red. The hum shifted. A new tone entered the chamber, cold, mechanical, dissonant. "They're coming," Lyra said. "We have minutes." Elian moved to the activation panel. It required a vocal key. He looked at Lyra. "Do you know it?" She nodded. "It's a song. The first one." She began to hum. The melody was slow, deliberate, ancient. The graphite responded. The sheets shimmered. The console unlocked. The tunnel lit up. A path opened. "Go," she said. "I'll hold them." Elian hesitated. "You'll be silenced." She smiled. "Not if I sing loud enough." He ran. The tunnel carried him forward, the hum guiding his steps. The walls pulsed with memory, fragments of forgotten voices urging him on. He reached a terminal. District 12 was close. Kale's signal was stronger. The boy was singing. Not just humming, singing. Words. Emotion. Defiance. Elian activated the final gate. The graphite melted. He stepped through. The air was different. Alive. Resonant. Kale stood in the center of a small chamber, surrounded by dampeners. They were failing. The boy's voice was too strong. Elian approached. Kale turned. "Are you from the archive?" he asked. Elian shook his head. "I'm from before." The boy smiled. "Then you remember." Elian nodded. "I do now." The hum became harmony. The directive began to fracture. The harmony didn't fade. It expanded, folding itself into the dampeners, overwhelming their calibration. Kale's voice was raw, imperfect, but it carried something the system couldn't suppress: intention. Elian stood beside him, listening not just to the melody, but to the fractures it created. The graphite walls shimmered with each note, revealing embedded waveforms long buried. The directive was weakening. Elian activated the chamber's console. It blinked erratically, struggling to process the influx of unsanctioned sound. He bypassed the filters. A warning appeared. Protocol 0 destabilizing. Containment breach imminent. He ignored it. Kale continued to sing. The words were simple, fragmented, like pieces of a forgotten lullaby. The sky was blue before the silence. The wind could speak. The rain could listen. Elian felt something shift inside him. A memory not his own, or perhaps one he had inherited. He turned to the console. A new waveform appeared. It wasn't Kale's. It wasn't his. It was Lyra's. She was still singing. The signal was faint, but alive. The archive hadn't silenced her. Not yet. He traced the signal. It was moving, traveling through the resonance tunnels, carried by the old system. She was sending a message. The waveform pulsed. Embedded in it was a phrase, "They are rewriting." Elian stared. What does it mean? Kale looked up. They're changing the archive. Erasing the echoes. Elian accessed the archive. The interface flickered. Files were vanishing. Entire sectors collapsing into silence. District 19. District 77. Subsector 4. All marked, resolved. He tried to retrieve the memory sheets. Access denied. He bypassed the firewall. The throat band pulsed red. He ignored it. The sheets reappeared, flickering, unstable. He downloaded them. Kale watched. Will they find us? Elian nodded. They already have. The chamber trembled. A low frequency entered the air, cold, synthetic, designed to neutralize resonance. The graphite darkened. The dampeners reactivated. Kale's voice faltered. Elian stepped forward. Sing louder. The boy hesitated. I'm scared. Elian knelt. So am I. But silence is worse. Kale nodded. He sang. The melody rose, fractured, defiant. The synthetic frequency wavered. The graphite resisted. Elian joined him. His voice was unfamiliar and used, but it carried weight. The chamber responded. The dampeners cracked. The console blinked. A new message appeared. Directive failure. Reversion protocol initiated. Elian accessed the reversion file. It was encrypted. He traced the key. It led to Subsector 0, the origin point. The place where silence had begun. He turned to Kale. We need to go. The boy nodded. The tunnel opened. They ran. The resonance followed them, adapting to their steps, shielding them from the neutralizers. As they moved, the walls pulsed with memory. Voices long forgotten, songs half-sung, emotions buried beneath protocol. They reached a junction. 3 paths. 3 melodies. Elian listened. One was Lyra's. Faint. Fading. He chose it. The tunnel narrowed, then opened into a chamber unlike the others. It was empty. Silent. At the center stood a console, older than the rest, covered in dust, untouched by the directive. Elian approached. The screen flickered. A voice spoke. Not Lyra's. Not synthetic. Welcome to Subsector 0. Kale stepped back. It's cold. Elian nodded. This is where they built the silence. The console displayed a waveform. It was massive, complex, layered with thousands of voices. This is the original archive, the voice said. Before the directive. Before the forgetting. Elian stared. Why did you silence it? The voice paused. Because it made people remember too much. Kale frowned. Is that bad? It was uncontrollable. Memory is recursive. Emotion is viral. The system collapsed. Elian touched the console. We can rebuild it. The voice hesitated. You will be resisted. We already are. The console blinked. Then begin. A panel opened. Inside was a graphite sheet, blank, untouched. Elian placed his hand on it. It pulsed. Kale sang. The sheet shimmered. A new waveform appeared. Alive, unstable, beautiful. The archive began to rewrite itself. Not with silence. With sound. The graphite sheet pulsed beneath Elian's hand, its surface shimmering with the raw waveform of Kale's voice. The melody was unstable, recursive, but alive. The console blinked erratically, struggling to process the influx of unsanctioned sound. The voice from Subsector 0 returned, quieter now, as if strained by the reactivation. You are rewriting the archive. The system will respond. Elian didn't flinch. Let it. Kale stood beside him, watching the waveform expand. It was no longer just his melody. It was absorbing fragments from the resonance tunnels, echoes from Lyra, traces from Elian himself. The graphite was becoming a living memory field. The console displayed a new message. Directive override, 17%. Elian stared. What happens at 100? The voice hesitated. The silence ends. But so does containment. Kale frowned. What does that mean? Emotion will return. All of it. Unfiltered. Elian nodded. Then we keep going. The chamber trembled. A low frequency entered the air, familiar now, the synthetic tone of suppression. The system had found them. The graphite darkened. The waveform flickered. Kale's voice faltered. Elian stepped forward. Sing. The boy hesitated. It hurts. That means it's working. Kale closed his eyes. The melody returned, stronger, sharper, layered with defiance. The graphite resisted. The console blinked. Directive override, 23%. The synthetic frequency fractured. The chamber stabilized. Elian accessed the archive. More sectors were collapsing into silence. District 12. District 93. Subsector 7. All marked, resolved. He bypassed the filters. The memory sheets reappeared, unstable, flickering. He downloaded them. Kale watched. Will they erase us? Elian shook his head. Not if we become the archive. The boy didn't understand, but he sang anyway. The melody expanded. The graphite pulsed. The console displayed a new waveform. Unfamiliar, erratic. Elian traced it. It wasn't from Kale. It wasn't from Lyra. It was from someone else. A name appeared, Sarah. Age, 28. Vocal infraction, weeping. Location, District 44. Elian stared. She cried. Kale nodded. That's a sound too. The waveform was jagged, raw, filled with emotional distortion. The system had tried to suppress it, but it had leaked into the resonance tunnels. Elian accessed the trace. Sarah was isolated. Her sector was collapsing. He initiated a retrieval. The console resisted. Access denied. He bypassed the firewall. The throat band pulsed red. He ignored it. The gate opened. A tunnel lit up. We have to go, he said. Kale hesitated. Will she sing? She doesn't have to. They entered the tunnel. The walls pulsed with fragments of Sarah's weeping, soft, broken, recursive. The graphite shimmered with each step, absorbing the emotion, translating it into waveform. Elian explained as they moved. Before the directive, every feeling had a frequency. Joy, grief, longing. The archive stored them all. Kale frowned. Why did they stop? Because people couldn't forget. They reached the chamber. Sarah was there, curled against the wall, her throat band pulsing black. She looked up. Her eyes were red. Her voice was silent. Elian approached. You remembered. She nodded. I tried not to. Kale stepped forward. It's okay. She stared at him. You're humming. We all are. Elian placed a graphite sheet beside her. It pulsed. Her waveform appeared, fractured, beautiful. The console blinked. Directive override, 31%. Sarah touched the sheet. It shimmered. She didn't speak. She didn't sing. She wept. The chamber responded. The synthetic frequency fractured. The archive trembled. Elian accessed the system. A new message appeared. Containment breach expanding. Emotional recursion detected. He smiled. Good. The graphite pulsed. The resonance tunnels lit up. More signals. More voices. More memory. The silence was unraveling. The resonance tunnels pulsed with memory, each corridor vibrating with the emotional signatures of those who had resisted silence. Elian, Kale, and Sarah stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by graphite sheets that shimmered with waveforms too complex to decode. The archive was no longer a static system. It was becoming recursive, alive, unpredictable. The console blinked. Directive override, 47%. Elian stared at the number. It was accelerating. Every voice added to the system destabilized the original protocols. Every hum, every cry, every fragment of forgotten sound pushed the directive closer to collapse. Sarah's weeping had triggered a cascade. New signals were emerging from dormant sectors. District 44. Subsector 19. Even the sealed vaults of Zone Null. Kale watched the console. They're trying to stop it. Elian nodded. They'll send the silencers. Sarah frowned. What are those? Not people. Not machines. Protocol incarnate. They erase memory at the source. The graphite darkened. A low tone entered the chamber, Cold, synthetic, absolute. The resonance faltered. The waveforms flickered. Elian stepped forward. We have to reach the core. Kale hesitated. Where is it? Beneath Subsector 0. The original archive. The place where emotion was first stored. Sarah touched the graphite. Will it remember us? Elian nodded. If we sing loud enough. The tunnel opened. They entered. The walls were smoother here, untouched by dampeners, lined with ancient waveforms etched into the graphite like fossils. As they walked, the synthetic tone followed them, trying to overwrite the resonance. Kale hummed. Sarah wept. Elian spoke, not in sanctioned phrases, but in fragments of memory. I remember the wind before it was silenced. I remember the sound of my mother's voice. The graphite responded. The waveform stabilized. The console blinked. Directive override, 62%. They reached the core. It was vast, circular, filled with suspended sheets of graphite that pulsed like living organisms. At the center stood a console unlike the others. Older, deeper, embedded in the floor. Elian approached. The screen lit up. A voice spoke. You have reached the origin. The archive is listening. Kale stepped forward. Can it hear us? It always could. Sarah touched the console. Her waveform appeared, fractured, recursive, beautiful. The system hesitated. Emotion detected. Containment unstable. Elian accessed the override. The console resisted. Silencers deployed. The chamber trembled. The synthetic tone intensified. The graphite cracked. Elian turned to Kale. Sing. The boy hesitated. They're close. That's why it matters. Kale sang. The melody was raw, imperfect, layered with fear and defiance. Sarah joined him, not with words, but with breath, with rhythm, with memory. Elian added his voice. The harmony expanded. The graphite pulsed. The console blinked. Directive override, 78%. The silencers entered. They were faceless, soundless, wrapped in dampening fields that erased resonance on contact. The chamber dimmed. The waveforms flickered. Kale faltered. Elian stepped forward. Keep singing. The boy closed his eyes. The melody rose. The silencers advanced. The graphite resisted. The console blinked. Directive override, 89%. One silencer reached Sarah. Her waveform began to collapse. She screamed. The graphite absorbed it. The scream became a signal. The console blinked. Directive override, 93%. Elian accessed the final protocol. It required a vocal key. He looked at Kale. Do you know it? The boy nodded. It's the song Lyra taught me. He sang. The melody was ancient, circular, recursive. The graphite shimmered. The silencers fractured. The console blinked. Directive override, 100%. Silence terminated. The chamber exploded with sound. Not noise. Not chaos. Memory. Emotion. History. The archive rewrote itself. The directive dissolved. The silencers vanished. The resonance tunnels lit up. Voices returned. The system remembered. The archive did not collapse. It unfolded. The graphite sheets shimmered with waveforms too vast to contain, each one a thread of memory, a pulse of emotion, a fragment of sound once forbidden. Elian stood at the center of the core, surrounded by resonance. His throat band melted, his voice unbound. Kale sat beside the console, humming softly, the melody now familiar, recursive, alive. Sarah leaned against the wall, her eyes closed, her breath sinking with the rhythm of the chamber. The silencers were gone. Not destroyed, dissolved. Their purpose had ended. The directive was no longer a law but a relic, a failed containment system that had underestimated the persistence of feeling. The console blinked. Silence terminated. Archive unlocked. Elian accessed the system. The interface had changed. No longer sterile, no longer filtered. It pulsed with color, with sound, with memory. He searched for Lyra. Her signal was faint, but present. A waveform appeared, fractured, fading, but still singing. He traced it to Subsector 19. The resonance tunnel opened. He entered alone. The walls pulsed with fragments of her voice, each note a breadcrumb, each echo a reminder. He reached the chamber. It was dark. The graphite was cracked. Lyra lay beside the console, her throat band shattered, her breath shallow. Elian knelt. You sang. She opened her eyes. So did you. He touched the console. Her waveform shimmered. The system responded. Memory restored. She smiled. I thought I'd forget. You didn't. The graphite pulsed. The chamber lit up. The resonance tunnel reconnected. They returned to the core. Kale looked up. Is she okay? Elian nodded. She remembered. Sarah approached. What happens now? Elian stared at the console. We rebuild. The archive was no longer a vault. It was a living system, recursive, emotional, unstable. The graphite sheets floated freely, absorbing sound, translating feeling, storing memory. The resonance tunnels expanded, reaching sectors long sealed, awakening voices long silenced. Elian initiated the new protocol. It had no number, no containment, just a name. Echo. The console blinked. Protocol Echo activated. Kale frowned. What does it do? Elian smiled. It listens. The graphite shimmered. The waveforms adapted. The archive began to record not just sanctioned data, but unsanctioned feeling. Regret, longing, joy, grief. The system pulsed with life. Lyra touched the console. Will it last? Elian hesitated. It will change. Sarah nodded. So will we. The resonance tunnels lit up. New signals emerged. Children humming. Elders weeping. Forgotten songs returning. The silence was gone, but its echo remained, not as a threat, but as a reminder. Elian stood at the center of the core, listening. The melody was everywhere now, embedded in the graphite, in the air, in the archive itself. It was imperfect, unstable, beautiful. He closed his eyes. He remembered the first hum, the accidental melody, the pulse of something forbidden. He remembered the fear, the fracture, the voice that said silence was forgetting. He remembered Lyra's song, Kale's defiance, Sarah's weeping. He remembered himself. The console blinked. Memory complete. The archive pulsed. The graphite shimmered. The resonance tunnels expanded. The system listened. The silence ended.